Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power Hour, Optometry's largest and longest running show. I'm your host, Eugene Schatzman, and today we've got a pretty unique episode for you. This is actually one of the 5 shows that we recorded live in Vegas at Expo. And what we did was have meaningful conversations on the show floor with industry leaders. Those shows included Jim McGrann. He is the former CEO of VSP and now the CEO of Advancing Eyecare. Dr. Paul Karpecki and Dr. Shane Swats, just dry eye gurus. Daniel Rosten, a marketing and digital technology expert. David Keith, a physical technology and practice efficiency expert. And each of those shows are posted separately, and they were all incredible conversations. But to make those shows possible, we actually partnered and selected 4 innovators who brought something new to Vision Expo, and we decided to report on each one of their innovations. So the show that you're about to hear is the Expo Innovators Series, live from Vegas, where I interview 4 innovators for 15 minutes each. First, I talked to Brant Southwell at Avulux, which is a new lens-based solution for the roughly 15% of your patients who are suffering from migraine. Then I interviewed Dr. James Rynerson, who is the founder of BlephX, who brought a new technology called OptiVize to the show, and it has a really big claim that it cures dry eye. Then I speak to Cindy Braden from a brand new software called OneSpot, which is based on the work of RevCycle partners. And OneSpot is designed to help your billers be way more efficient and collect on way more claims and faster, and they tell you how they do that. And finally, I speak with Jim McGrann about all of the innovations that Advancing Eyecare is bringing with its latest acquisitions and investments in AI technology. So again, I call this show the Vegas Innovators Series. It's a unique show because we have 4 separate conversations that are about 15 minutes long. And if you're interested in a potential new subspecialty in migraine or cutting edge dry eye tech or improving your billing practices or buying new equipment for your office, I recommend the show. We've carefully chosen these innovators, but of course, they're also sponsors. So you're going to hear them pitch their services. Probably one of the only times you're going to hear this on the Power Hour while I'm hosting it. But this, in my opinion, is not so bad because if you didn't go to Expo and if you didn't get a chance to have complete or educated conversations with these industry leaders, then these are carefully curated conversations where I tried to ask questions on the audience's behalf. And these are also on YouTube in case you want to see what the show floor looks like or what the guests look like or what they presented. And in the YouTube version, you're actually going to see some pictures and video of that brand new device that Dr. Rynerson talks about. It's super fascinating. I saw it live. It's really hard to picture it without really going to their website or seeing it in the image. So there's a little plug for the YouTube channel here. Of course, we're going to post links to all of these innovators in the show notes. You can check it out and you can learn more about it. And as always, I can't wait to hear what you think. Reach out to me directly on the Power Hour website or on eugeneschatzman.com. Again, that's eugeneschatzman.com. I look forward to your feedback. And of course, if you subscribe on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, you will be notified every single time that we drop an episode. Okay, let's jump in and go to the 4 innovator conversations. Okay, our first conversation is with Brant Southwell of Avulux, who talks about why Avulux lenses are such an innovation with helping patients who suffer from the symptoms of migraine. Here we go. All right, I'm here in the Avulux booth. Brant, welcome to the Power Hour Innovators, Vegas Innovators Special.
Thank you, Eugene.
Excited to have you here. So I think it's really important that we get to the point right away. We're talking about innovation. There's a lot of innovation going on at Expo, and you guys are a real innovator, and you're doing something special for the industry. So talk about what is the innovation, why is it important, and really what's going on at the booth here today.
Sure, happy to. We hear the word innovation a lot in this industry, and I still get excited when I come to Vision Expo and see so many new companies bringing new technologies into the industry. It's really gratifying to see these new innovations in the eye care space, a market that's very kind of it's very long standing and very, very saturated, but there's still so much opportunity for innovation, and that's why I love specifically being able to bring the innovation of Avulux to the show. Migraine is a disease state that, frankly, I didn't even know a lot about when I came to Avulux, but it's incredibly prevalent, impacts 15-20% of people, and they're looking actively for solutions. And it turns out that light is so intrinsically related to migraine that optometry has this unique opportunity to be part of that solution. And so the idea of Avulux is actually a very simple one. It's incredibly complex, robust technology, but it's very simple. It's just light management, right? It's managing the wavelengths of light that reach the eye, because some wavelengths are triggering for migraine patients and some wavelengths are soothing. And with some selective filtration, you can actually create some relief for migraine patients in their lens. So again, it's a great opportunity for optometry to take an active role in an incredibly large community.
Well, and the reality is that a lot of optometrists, every time they're screening a patient, they're asking the headache question, right?
Sure.
It's already in our flow. We're already, as an industry, we're already ingrained in asking patients about headaches. And now this is just a level of care that we can offer that hasn't been available before. And, this is a brand new booth. So talk about some of the reactions that you're getting when you're talking to doctors about migraine, and, are they surprised? Are they excited? What's the general sentiment?
There's definitely a little bit of surprise and excitement. There's a lot of, what is this? What do you guys do? But then when they understand sort of the fundamental concept and what goes behind it in terms of the technology, and when they understand that it can really be impactful to the lives of their migraine patients, of which everyone knows someone who suffers from migraine. Everyone has a friend or a family member. Certainly doctors have a lot of patients that they know suffer from migraines. When they know that there's a solution that they can play a part in, especially one that's non-invasive, right? Because a lot of migraine sufferers are turning first and foremost to medications, injectables, even electrode therapies and different things. So when they find out that there's an opportunity for them to play an active role in being a solution to a problem that a lot of their patients have that they wouldn't traditionally think to look at their optometrist for, they get very excited. So we've had a lot of people come in the booth, oh, what is this? And then by the end, they're going, okay, great. Well, how do I get involved? How do I do this in my practice? And the answer is very simple, right? Without sort of getting on my soapbox, I've had the good fortune of spending 15 years in this industry and being involved with a lot of different products, and a lot of great products, by the way. But a lot of the concepts in optical, when explaining them to patients, are fairly obtuse, right? And we spend a lot of time and energy as an industry trying to come up with the right message of how to explain complicated concepts to patients, how to explain even presbyopia or binocular vision or things like that. When it comes to migraine, it's a yes or no question. Do you get migraine? A patient will know the answer to that question.
And what percentage of patients get migraine?
It's 1 in 5. It's very high. It's anywhere between 15 and 20% of patients.
So you're saying 15 to 20% of patients that everybody sees every single day have some semblance of migraine in their life.
They do. And it's really held pat in terms of when we've actually done outbound marketing to these patients, some of which you've been involved in directly, is we've done outbound marketing to some of these patients. A doctor will have an EHR that has some number of patient emails. They'll send out a notification. We've got this great new technology. If you've got migraine, come in for a migraine screening. Like clockwork, they'll say, oh yeah, it's like 1 in 5 of the people that I sent that out to came back and said, hey, I'd love to learn more about this. So there are a lot of people who are dealing with migraine, and frankly, not surprisingly, they have no idea that this is something they should even be bringing up with their office.
And I want to go back to an earlier point that you made, which is that it is expensive to deal with migraine for a typical patient. It is costing how much? And it's not like you just deal with it and it goes away. What are patients spending, and how is Avulux different?
A lot, and much more than I would have thought. Even like I said, I even as long as I've been in the industry, I didn't know much about this space. But when you look at certainly the prescription lens options that are out there, I mean, patients can be paying anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month for these products. Even over-the-counter medication, gets expensive over time. You've got, Botox, you've got injectables, you've got chiropractors, and all sorts of things. And overall, a migraine patient is going to spend about that amount per month in symptom management, about $500 to $1,000 a month. When you can give them a $500, $600, $700 pair of glasses that manages that ubiquitously for the course of, until they get their next pair of glasses, a year, 2 years, really it's a dramatic impact on the financial impact of migraine to that patient.
So how does it work? So the patient wears the glasses all the time or some of the time, or well, what is the protocol?
Almost always it's situational. So there are some patients, unfortunately, that are just chronic migraine sufferers. They're suffering from 15 or more migraines a month. In those cases, those patients will sometimes just wear these all the time. It almost becomes a preventative course of action for them. But for the vast majority of patients, they're going to wear these situationally. Migraine patients will know what it feels like to have a migraine coming on. And they certainly will know their triggering events. Hey, I typically get migraines when I travel. I get migraines when I stare at a computer for this period of time. I get migraines when I'm under fluorescence. And they'll know those triggering events, and they'll be able to pop their Avulux on during those events and stave off or minimize that symptom.
Okay, so do patients have any negative feedback about the way the lenses look? Is it because it's lens technology, right?
Sure.
And it's lens technology can go into any frame?
It can, yeah. Any frame, any lens design, we're very ubiquitous.
Any prescription. Okay, great. Yeah. So that being the case, so what's the feedback you get from patients about the actual the lens?
The lens itself. So the first question was aesthetically. Obviously, there is an aesthetic difference. You're managing light, so the lens does look a little bit different. However, when you look at it compared to other light management solutions, FL41, FL60, tints that have been out there for a long time, it's significantly less dramatic. And also when looking through them, it doesn't distort color the same way. And because so many people are wearing this situationally, we don't get really any feedback at all negatively on the aesthetic. Now, in terms of the feedback on symptom management, it's, I know I'm biased when I say this, but I've seen a lot of patient feedback on this organically through, online reviews and things like that, but also through actual market research. And the impact it has on patients is incredible. It's over 90% of patients say, yes, this absolutely works. It's like a soothing sensation for my eyes. It helps me. It's become part of my migraine regimen. It's given me time back in my day, which is incredibly gratifying. So the effectiveness of the product is overwhelming.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because doctors stopped prescribing, at least as far as I can tell, some of the other alternatives you mentioned, FL41. Why? And how is this truly different?
Well, there's a couple reasons they stopped really prescribing it. One, because the clinical evidence was never really there. Now, there's been some situational evidence. Some people like it. Some people have found some success with it. That's great. But overall, it's very hit and miss. And another reason is because it's just inconsistent, right? A lab tint, when you look at a tint that was dipped Thursday in the same lab might be different from a tint that was dipped Friday.
Yep.
So the consistency from lens to lens was also really hard to keep with any level of consistency. So this really takes all of the guesswork out of that and makes it just part of the substrate. So you're exactly right. It becomes less and less common for people to use FL41, FL60, things like that for light management because, it's inconsistent in the way it works and it's inconsistent in the way it looks. That simple.
And you guys have some scientific data, right?
Oh, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of ongoing patient research, a lot of, looking into different, different scenarios and patient types that this is particularly impactful to, looking at obviously our core messaging, making sure it really resonates. But more than anything, this product is underpinned by a true peer-reviewed clinical study. So a double-blind, placebo-controlled study that validates that this product has not only a statistically significant impact, so meaning that it's not chance, right? It's not, this truly, it wasn't the placebo effect. This truly did have an impact. It was different on patients, but clinically significant as well, which means that it improved the patient's quality of life. It had a lifestyle impact on that patient. They noticed a difference wearing the lens. And that underpinning is such a big part of our foundation because the efficacy of the lens is everything. We put our money where our mouth is. If somebody buys an Avulux lens and within 90 days, if it doesn't work for them, they can send it back to us. We'll give them their money back. Our returns are less than 2%.
Yeah.
So it's incredible how effective this is. And we've got the clinical sort of foundation to prove that out.
Yeah. And is it hard to get the lens? How disruptive is it to the practice to be able to get this lens into the hands of their patient.
Now you're really speaking my language, Eugene, because this is probably, from a commercial standpoint, one of my favorite parts about Avulux is how incredibly simple it is to incorporate into the practice. It's not disruptive to the flow. There's no additional screening, testing, anything like that that's required, because migraine is such a well understood concept. You simply add it to your normal pre-test paperwork. Do you get migraine? Yes or no? The patient's going to know the answer. Does light make it worse? Yes or no? Okay, well then we have something we can try with you. It's really that straightforward. Some docs will do it at intake. Some docs will do it in their pre-appointment paperwork. Some docs will have the tech ask a few questions. Makes no difference. As long as you're at some point along the way saying, raise your hand if you get migraine, we can talk about it, you are going to find your migraine patients in your practice. As a matter of fact, even simpler than that, if you just put up, we've got plenty of literature, if you just put up a table tent or a poster or something that says, talk to us if you have migraine, your migraine patients are going to bring it up with you because they are so actively seeking solutions. That's going to be something that they're going to go, yes, talk to me about that.
And I've heard of practices where patients will literally drive from dozens of, like tens or dozens or sometimes hundreds of miles to get this solution, to try it out, because they are suffering, right? Yep. This is, in fact, something that is truly benefiting the patient in a way that there's nothing else on the market that can, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I've heard those stories as well. People driving hours to get their hands on the product, to see a doctor. I heard a really gratifying story this morning from a very good friend of mine, a doctor out in California. She said that she had sold a patient a pair of Avulux chemistry clips and said, yeah, we can get those to you in probably 3 or 4 days. Well, the patient had trialed some Avulux trial frames in the chair, and they had such an immediate impact on that patient. Wow. That patient actually said, okay, so can I just, for the next 3 days, can I just take these? Can I borrow these, essentially? Of course, the doctor's going to say, well, yeah, you can, so the patient, even though it was only going to be 3 days, the patient said, but this is having such an impact on me already. I want to be able to use this demo pair for the next 3 days. And that's what we're dealing with here. When it comes to migraine patients, being able to give them some solution is, I've almost stopped thinking about it as pain, as you're giving them time. Yep. Migraine is disruptive. It causes people to have to spend hours in dark rooms, to miss work, to miss family time, to miss things they enjoy doing. You're giving them the gift of time. Yep. With this lens. And that, more than pain relief, more than anything like that, is really what the core benefit of the product is.
And so it's good for the patient. It's good for the practice. It helps you serve your patients in a way that's never been, that hasn't really been created before. This is a brand new booth at Vision Expo. We'll certainly post information of how people can get in touch with Avulux in the show notes. Thank you for being here, Brant. Thank you for being part of our Innovator Series, and appreciate everything you're doing for the marketplace.
Eugene, thank you, one, for having me, and two, thank you and the Power Hour team for all you do for the industry. It's an incredible service. And again, you guys bringing innovations like this to light for optometrists is something that we can't thank you enough for. So appreciate you as well.
Great. Thank you, Brant. Our next conversation is with Dr. James Rynerson from BlephEx, who's been testing and perfecting a new technology in his own practice, and it's called OptiVize. This is a new concept in treating dry eye. Listen in. All right, James, welcome to the Power Hour. I'm excited to have you here. We're sitting in Vegas in the BlephEx booth, and this is our Vegas Innovators show. And I think there's something really exciting that BlephEx has unveiled at the show. Why don't you talk a little bit about the innovation, how it impacts private practice, and maybe just give us a little bit of background.
Absolutely, Eugene, and thanks so much for asking me to participate in this. We're very excited about this new innovation. It really is a game changer in terms of treating dry eye disease.
Okay.
So you may know I invented BlephEx years ago, which, as it turns out, removes biofilm from the lid margin. And I knew that was a great thing. And I had blepharitis patients that really got a lot of value out of that lid debridement using BlephEx. Well, what bothered me for a number of years was the fact I knew there was biofilm, not just on the lid margin, but down within down within the glands, inside the meibomian glands, covering up the ducts on the oil acini and all of that. So I always thought, well, how in the world can I get that biofilm out of the glands? Because that's where it's really doing the damage, is that intraglandular inflammation that slowly destroys the glands. And we see that every day in our practices. So I came across a video from Montana State University Center for Biofilm Engineering that demonstrated what DC current does to biofilm. They were actually just vaporized biofilm off of a metal plate that was submerged in a saline solution. And I thought, aha, DC current. That's how we can reach that biofilm inside the glands. I don't have to get in there and try to scrub it out. I'll let the electricity do it.
Okay.
So DC current takes biofilm and blows the bonds apart and absolutely vaporizes it. So that's how we get it off the inside of the gland, get it off all the oil acini walls, get it ready to express. Then a heat and express comes in, and we get all of that out of there.
Again, we're going to show, for everybody who's listening, you're really going to want to look at this on the YouTube version, because we're going to show the actual device and some video associated with it, because it's so fascinating. There's no way I can really even, I mean, you can describe it better than I can, James, but for everybody who's listening, because there's going to be thousands of people who are listening to this, to this explanation, just describe the device, because, you know, maybe some people are picturing you're just like running a wire to the eyelid. What's happening there?
Yeah, we promise we're not going to shock anybody. So it essentially uses 6 volts, which is the equivalent of 2 AA batteries. So it's a very low voltage. The patient hardly feels it, but the biofilm, it feels it, and it blows that biofilm apart. So we have a specialty contact lens that we designed to bring that electric current to the eyelids.
And it goes on the outside of the eyelid, right?
Well, the device itself goes in the eye behind the eyelids. So there's a kind of a scleral shell that conforms over the eyeball itself. And then you have that shell covered on the outside by the lids. So the lids close on the outside of the shelf, and outside of the shell, and then they close on this metal shelf. So the electricity goes from the OptiVize console through a wire to the metal plates into the meibomian glands and back out again. And that's how we complete the circuit.
Okay. So now let's just talk about where in the treatment, how long does it take, what's the patient feeling, and you know how much of this has been used in the field already?
Well, I've been using it for about 2 years in my private practice, but that was a prototype. Okay. That's why we're so excited to finally bring the production model to the floor. I mean, it took 4 years to actually develop this, research the type of waveform we needed, the frequency that would actually break those bonds apart. So that's how long I've been using it and seeing the effects of it in my office. So what was the other part of that?
Okay, so and now that you've brought it to the floor, I mean, has anybody else tried it? Do you have success?
Nope, we have yet to have our first doctor buy their OptiVize and take it into their office and use it.
So this is a real innovation. You're really on the cutting edge of
brand new. Yeah,
okay, this is fantastic. Okay, yeah. And when you're using it in your office, what are some of what do you actually see?
Well, in my office, the first thing we have to do, of course, is a BlephX procedure to debride the lid margin.
Okay.
And then we do the OptiVize, again, painless, vaporizes biofilm, and you can actually see the biofilm when you perform the next step, which is heating and expressing. You can see the biofilm come out. It has a completely different look than the typical sludge we see.
Okay.
So these patients get better fast. The treatments are monthly, though, and they're fairly expensive. I charge a lot to do these procedures.
Well, let's talk about the economics, okay?
So I charge $975 for my patients.
Per month?
Per monthly treatment, correct. So they're paying me $975 every month. And most treatments it's going to take 5 or 6 treatments in some people to get them fixed. Some people maybe 7 or 8 treatments. And by fix, I mean clear oil and a significant reduction in symptoms. Mm-hmm. So they feel better quickly, though. By the second or third treatment, they're feeling better. And so they stick with the program. They stick with the protocol. And before long, they're absolutely symptom-free. Inflammation's gone, and they're making great clear oil again. It's just remarkable.
And at that point, when do they have to come back?
So we start increasing that monthly interval. Mm-hmm. So let's say they come in for their 4th monthly treatment. I do an expression after the vaporization, and all I get is clear oil. I don't get any more of that pasty sludge that comes out of the glands. That's time to go out to 6 weeks for the next one. At 6 weeks, they come in. If it's still clear, I go to 8 weeks for the next one. And I keep doing that until I get to an every 6-month preventative treatment, because by that time they're cured, essentially.
Wow.
They no longer have any disease state going on. We've cured that element of this disease. Then it's a matter of preventing it from coming back, because the lid margins will never be sterile. There'll always be bacteria living on the lid margins. They'll always have access to moisture, and so they'll always build biofilms. So it's just waiting to come back. So this is an every 6-month maintenance, just like a dental cleaning.
So you're looking for doctors to adopt this in their practice and just to add this to the toolkit. Now, what do you think this works best with? Obviously, you mentioned the BlephX product. So talk about the protocols, and you talked about expression as part of the protocol. So talk about the protocols you recommend, and talk about the protocols you see this being successful with.
Yeah. So the protocol is called REVVE, REVVE, which stands for recognize, because we've done a poor job in eye industry of recognizing this disease early enough to make a difference. We don't recognize it at this point until it's way late in the game. So there's some early signs we've identified that doctors can use to recognize this disease early on, when you can really make a difference, and it's easier to fix, easier to treat. Then we've got the E for exfoliation. We've got to use the BlephX to completely exfoliate the lid margins. The first V, of course, is vaporization, which is the brand new device that really makes a difference in this intraglandular biofilm. And then the next V, so we've got 2 Vs in this. Next V is vibration. When we do our heating and expressing, the paddles we use to do that with have a vibratory disc. So while we're expressing, we're also vibrating. So we call it a vibratory expression. So REVVE. And that's what fixes people. Wow. There's really nothing else that can do it. We've never cured dry eye disease before. We've always been taught you can't cure it. It's chronic. Get it. No treatment for it. Just do the best you can. Take some drops. Do some home scrubs. That won't do it. The REVVE protocol cures dry eye disease.
And that's a big statement, curing dry eye.
I realize that.
And it's not, and it sounds like you're not just saying it as a marketing pitch. It really is the impact that you're having on your patients. So talk about the numbers. How many patients have you seen? What's been the impact?
I've seen thousands of patients. So we have great acceptance right from the get-go, because we have a video that educates them on what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. And then,
can I show that video or can I show part of that video in
my education video? Yeah. I'll send it to you.
I'll include it in the show notes. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You can use that. Look, this is all about getting the word out and helping other doctors help their patients. Okay. Right? I shouldn't have the only clinic in the world fixing dry eye disease right now. And I don't say it as a marketing plug. I'm just sharing what I know, what I do in my clinic. And I've treated thousands of patients, and patients who stick with it. Now, again, this is expensive. So some patients drop out just because they can't afford it anymore. But patients who stick with it, I don't think there's anybody we haven't fixed. So it's just, you got to stick with it.
And what is you mentioned you have a high acceptance rate. So what is the acceptance rate in your office?
I get about an 80% acceptance rate for my patients.
Wow. And your treatments are at least $1,000 a month?
Well, they're $975 a month. That's right.
And that includes the BlephX, that includes the whole protocol.
That's everything. It's the whole protocol.
How long does it take? So who does it in your practice? How long does it take?
No, that's a great question. So a technician does most of it. Mm-hmm. The technician, of course, checks the vision. We do a T-butt. We follow speed scores. And then the technician does the BlephX procedure. The technician does the vaporization procedure. And then I come in and I do the heat and the vibratory expression. Okay. I want to see what comes out of those glands. And with the forceps paddles we use, you can see what comes out. You can take pictures of it, because that's going to help you follow those patients and know when you can go from 4 weeks out to 6 weeks. With those pictures we take during the expression, we can see if there's still sludge. If there's still sludge, we can't move it out yet. If we've gotten just clear oil, we're ready to move it on out.
Got it. Great. And, when you talk about that whole procedure, how much of your technician's time does it take? And then obviously, how much of your time are you scheduling per patient?
So the whole treatment process takes about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, these are on established patients. It's a little longer on an initial exam. Mm-hmm. But established patients, they come in 30 minutes. And my part of it's maybe about 5-6 minutes to do the expression. That doesn't take long at all. And then I go over our follow-up period, what we should do. We go over pictures. Taking pictures is a big part of this. You got to show patients their progress. You got to show them what you're following, like the Rynerson red light. We want to watch that fade away. We want to see the oil volume going up on our pictures as well. So that's the process we use that fixes these people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, when you're talking about curing dry eye, again, it's a big statement, but it sounds like you're doing it in your practice. What advice would you give to people who, they're maybe doing some dry eye treatment in their office? They're maybe using some of the various modalities that are available in the marketplace today.
Sure.
But obviously nobody has the OptiVize yet. This is new. So what advice would you give to people, and how would you suggest that providers shift their frame of reference regarding dry eye?
That's a great question. It all has to do with understanding this disease process. If you understand biofilm and understand that's our enemy, is the biofilm, we have to get rid of that, not just on the lid margin surface, but within the glands themselves. Understand that, and you can evaluate every other treatment out there. And if a treatment purports itself to be a dry eye treatment, see if it has any effect on biofilm. If it has no effect on biofilm, it's not going to have any effect on this disease. So first of all, evaluate from that standpoint, what is it doing to biofilm? And that may help you avoid some pitfalls of some things that have come down the pike that haven't helped very much, and then what can help.
So that's the mindset shift. And then obviously providers need to learn, and they need to they need to learn this protocol. So is this something that you teach? Is this something that, how does a provider become super familiar with this?
Right. So when a provider buys the OptiVize, we also suggest that they get a fellowship where they spend 2 days with me in my office, or I will come to them in their office. And if they'll do the fellowship, and if they have a BlephX, if they follow the exact same steps to treat and cure dry eye disease that I'm doing, then we make a guarantee to them that every dollar they spend to buy their OptiVize, it retails for $30,000, they get that money back if they're not curing dry eye disease. So we guarantee it.
Wow. So I just want to hear this one more time. You're saying to people, you'll give them 100% of their money back,
100%.
Through the fellowship, they learn to use it, and they get the support. And then if they're doing it right, so what's the condition? How do they get their money back?
If they're not curing dry eye within a year of their patients, then we give them their money back, and we let them define cure. Mm-hmm. So we've got like 10 descriptive, adjectives: dryness, redness, burning. Pick your adjective. They get to circle 3. Which 3 do you want to see in your patients that we get rid of? And we will get rid of those.
Wow.
And if we don't, your money back, no questions asked.
Wow. So, it really is super clear that you believe in this, you stand behind this product. And
that's the point of the guarantee.
Yeah, and it's not like BlephX. BlephX is not a newcomer to the industry. You've been around. Your company has been around for a long time, and obviously, the patient awareness of dry eye has increased substantially over the years, and so there's demand. There is plenty of demand, and we were at a different show talking with Paul Karpecki, for example, who says, look, they're already in your office. These dry eye patients are already in your office. You just have to help them. We're underserving them if we're not helping them. And this is truly, it sounds like an incredible opportunity to help those patients.
Sure. And the first thing you have to do before you help them is recognize them. And that's something we haven't done a good job of. So the Rynerson red line is a line that you'll see in the upper lid, but we've never noticed it before because we don't examine patients with their eyes closed, which is the only way to see it. Everyone's got their eyes open, of course. When we talk to each other, I can't see your red lines, but I bet you have them. I know I've got them. You can't see mine because we talk to each other with our eyes open, just like we examine patients. So we need to teach doctors, have the patient close their eyes and just lift that excess skin of the upper lid, and they will be amazed at the number of red lines they see. That red line is deep subdermal inflammation, and that's what's killing the glands, and that's what's caused by an inflammatory biofilm, and we can fix that now.
Wow. So again, one more time, so if you're coming, if you want to do the protocol that you're talking about, you need the BlephX, you need the OptiVize, you probably need the fellowship, and what else would you recommend? Parting thoughts in terms of curing dry eye disease in your practice?
Sure. Yeah. So the only other thing you would need as far as a device is the lash cam we brought to market shortly after BlephX. It was our second invention, which is a magnified, detailed ocular photography. My biography system, handheld. You can slip it in your pocket, take it from room to room. And that's great because patients hold an iPad in front of them that talks to the lash cam directly, and they see their eyes in real time. They see the damage to their eyelids in real time. And then it also does my biography. And you can take that video also right there while they're holding it, looking at it. So it really drives home the point to the patient that they've got damage. Their meibomian glands are being disrupted. They might not have very many left. And look, we've got to save what you have left and get them working again. So pictures are really worth a thousand words in this particular disease. And we take lots of pictures of different parts of this treatment protocol.
And this is what's driving your 80,000 or 80% acceptance rate.
Well, not exactly. That drives our success rate. But the acceptance rate will certainly, when they come in, they want to see the pictures. That's correct. But what drives them in many times where they're pre-sold is the video, the patient education video that all my patients get before they even step foot in our office, that explains biofilm disease, explains what we need to do to fix it. So patients come in and I'll start talking about biofilm and dry eye, and they'll say, why don't you just be quiet and get to work? You know, they don't want to hear it anymore. They understand it. They say, your video made perfect sense. So the video is the secret sauce. That's what sort of lubricates or greases the wheels on getting the patient on the path to acceptance of this procedure. And then, of course, like you say, you got to show them pictures during, and those pictures are a real deal closer. They get it when they see their eyelids.
James, thank you so much for being an innovator in the industry, everything you've done over the years to help these patients and also help providers help patients. We're definitely going to make sure that I'm really recommending to our audience, go on YouTube, watch this particular segment because we're showing some of the video and some of the key components of this particular device. It's hard to describe without seeing it. So I'm putting it on in the YouTube. I'm asking our editors to edit it in. And quite frankly, I think this is such an innovation that whether you're using it or not right now, or whether you want to use it or not right now at, in September of 2024, I think this is going to make a lot of noise in the industry, and you should at least be aware of it. So thank you, James, for everything that you're doing for the industry.
Thank you, Eugene. It's been my pleasure. This is my passion, and I'll never stop.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Our next conversation is with Cindy Braden from REVVE Cycle Partners and OneSpot. She brings with her a customer, Cassandra, to talk about the impact of the new software OneSpot for billers and the impact that it's having on practices across the country. All right, Vegas Innovators Show. Cindy, welcome to the show. Cassandra, welcome to the show. Excited to have you here. We're at the REVVE Cycle Partners booth. We're here behind us is something called OneSpot, which is the innovation that you're revealing at the show today that you're launching. So let's get right into it. Tell us about the innovation. Tell us what you're launching and why is this so good for the industry?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. We're really excited to bring OneSpot to the optometry space. It is the first of a kind software for billers in a practice. We have two halves to our business. We have the outsourced billing, which is a service where we provide billers for a practice.
And how many billers do you guys have?
Over 100.
Yeah.
billers.
So you guys kind of get to do this every day.
Yes. Yeah. So as a result of that, that's a really great point. As a result of that, we really felt the wins that billers have and the pain that billers have times 100. So if you have a biller in your practice or a handful of billers in your practice, we get that because that's also what we do every day. So we built software ourselves to support our billing team. We had great results on from the leadership side and being able to support the team, and the billers loved it. So we had here's the innovation. We had a light bulb that said, why would we not offer this to practices as well that have their own billers? So It's unique. There's no other software that just focuses on a biller in the practice and chasing that.
So what does the software do and what impact does it have?
Yeah, so it really, the first thing is it's called OneSpot. So it holds everything in one spot. When I talk to billers, they will say, I have 20 tabs open across the computer. I'm having to remember different logins and different passwords and different rules.
Because all the places that you're
all the payers,
all the payers have different rules, different regulations, and all the different things you have to remember.
Exactly. So all of that information goes in one spot, which is fantastic from a practice ownership or administrative area, because if your biller has to go on vacation, take a leave of absence, retires, all that information typically leaves with the biller in their head. And from our perspective, when we have 100 billers, it was tough if we lost a biller. So having them be able to set everything up makes it very easy for somebody to fill in. And then on the biller perspective, why it was so well received is if you can imagine in an average practice, hundreds of claims, outstanding claims, how do you make sure you get paid on those? How do you chase that money? The software highlights what needs attention to make sure you don't miss anything.
Sure. Okay. So then you created the software. You've used this same software, right?
Across same technology.
Same technology. Okay. So same technology across your 100 billers. And what impact did it have on your organization? What did the billers say, and what metrics did you track?
Yeah, so we had increased efficiency on the billers. Each biller is able to handle more. So our numbers went up from, I don't have the exact numbers, but about 4 locations per biller to almost 5 locations per biller that they can manage. So they get increased bandwidth and efficiency. Some of our practices, and the billers were much happier. They're now not having spreadsheets and binders and Post-it notes. They have everything in one spot, which makes it a lot easier for them.
Sure.
They do a fantastic job, but they've had to do it on their own until they had this technology. So the billers loved it. And then we've had practices now that their turnaround time, we just got a stat from one of our early customers that he was tracking very well, which a lot of practices don't know the health of their AR and their turnaround time. He was getting paid an average of 4 weeks when they
That's
submitted,
pretty good.
which is good. He was very proud of that. And they're down to 2 weeks now that they've been using.
They're getting their claims paid in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because of the software?
Yes. They think it's a big part of it, which is why he emailed me. They have an outstanding biller who was already killing it, but now she's freed up so much more of her time that she just doesn't feel like she's missing.
She can go chase this. So functionally, talk a little bit about what the software actually does.
Yes. So it has that overarching administrative area where they can put everything in one spot so that other people can fill in if you have more than one location or more than one biller helping out. It's nice because they have the ability to see what everybody else is doing and people can be very efficient. It has the ability to prioritize what needs attention based on like timely filing, what hasn't been looked at. And then it also has a claims scrubber built by rules that our team of 100 plus billers, again, if there's custom rules that our billers were physically having to scrub a claim and look at it before they submit it, we can write those rules into the software and then pass that onto the practices. So it also does claim scrubbing.
Wow.
As
Okay.
well. Yeah.
And so it saves billers time.
Yes.
Does it help with accuracy of the information sent to the payers?
Yes. And typically, a biller does such a good job that if it gets denied the first time, they get another chance to go chase the money, right? They work the claim, they figure out what happened and what went wrong, and then they can resubmit it. So if you can reduce the number of rejections the first time because the information is correct, and then if it does get denied, you have help making sure you're able to chase that payment and get reimbursed, then opportunity's not lost. When I talk to billers, they agonize if something gets missed. They agonize if something went past timely filing because they've got 100 claims or hundreds of claims sitting there trying to chase. The software really shines a light on that so it doesn't happen.
Okay, so we're going to talk to one of your customers in just a second, but before that, I think maybe some people listening are going to have a question of, well, how does this interface with the EHR? How is this different than the EHR? Or what relationship does OneSpot have with the EHR?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have Cassandra explain some of it, but I will do my best because it is new. There is no other software like it. So it sometimes is hard to imagine where it fits. It really it works with the practice management programs. You can we're working on integrations with all of them we can, but we do have a handful already. And it sits kind of in that third space where billers were having their own manual process of spreadsheets and whatnot. So you'll still use your practice management system to generate the claims. You'll still fix things in the practice management system, submit them through your clearinghouse. This really is the support for the biller to review the claims before they go and to help prioritize to make sure that if they do get rejected, that money eventually gets paid and it's not slipping through the cracks. They're working very hard, but things slip through the cracks. It's impossible.
Got it. Okay, so you talked a little bit about the impact that this is having on your own business where you have your hundreds of billers. And I mean, if there's any other KPIs you want to share, please do. But I also want to hear about what you're hearing from the marketplace. You already alluded to this a little bit, but what impact is this having on other people's practices? And how long has this been out, by the way?
Yeah, so we did kind of a soft launch at Vision Expo East.
Yep.
Where we reached out to some friends and family. And then shortly after that, come like May and June, we had some advertising out and some practices that needed extra help found us. So we really have only been selling to other practices maybe the last couple of months.
Okay.
So it is interesting because we're just now starting to see like the practice.
Right, this is the real launch right here. Yeah.
This is our official launch. So the practice that has their 2 months of data was a practice that I've known for a long time and agreed to do us a favor. And now they, of course, love it. So he was sending me a thank you note for suggesting.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for reaching out because we didn't think we needed it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so impact on your customers, on practices. Why don't we hear a little bit from Cassandra, who has actually generously showed up to share some of her feedback. Good, bad, and ugly. All right.
Yeah, perfect.
So talk about your practice and, how big is your practice, just to give the audience a little bit of context.
So we are a 2-doctor practice currently. We work with a wide variety of different plans as far as medical. We work with a lot of state insurance plans, marketplace plans. So we have a lot of stuff that goes through the traditional clearinghouse model versus your regular vision care plans that you're just data entry while you're submitting the order from. We had gotten to a place to where we were experiencing growth, and I knew I was going to be out on an extended medical leave, and had thought we had properly planned for that. We had hired a part-time remote biller to help with my part-time in-house biller that I had to be able to manage everything. And then unfortunately, you make plans and God laughs, and my in-house biller got very sick and ended up having to retire. So my poor remote biller, having only been with us for just a few short weeks, now is like the star of the show. And she doesn't have access to all the Post-it notes and the corkboard full of all the pertinent data and everything that my in-house biller had. She didn't have access to all the spreadsheets and all the different tabs and things like that I access to manage all the data I have, not to mention all the data that's in my head. So it really kind of put us in a bind to where we realized that there was a lot of money that was being left on the table. So with everything going on, we were at a point where we were considering whether we needed to outsource, hire somebody to work the backlog, things like that all cost additional dollars as well.
Right.
And happened to come across this advertisement for OneSpot, and my practice owner was just like, hey, would this be beneficial instead? And it was really a godsend, really it was, because now we could organize all that data, all that stuff that was on the Post-it notes, all the stuff that we had in different spreadsheets, my drawer full of different cheat sheets for all the different vendors, all that is one area. So my person who's working remotely can be able to access all that data. And now the number of questions she has, her efficiency, all of that has gone just skyrocket.
So when you're describing kind of starting up with OneSpot, is some of the stuff already there, or do you have to put it all in from there? Are you like transcribing your notes into OneSpot?
So it's a combination of both. They were really great to get for a lot of the common companies. Almost everybody works with United Healthcare. Everybody works with Anthem or Blue Cross Blue Shield. A lot of those companies that are kind of universal across the board, they had that data already in there. I had to put in like our own, practice information, passwords, all that. But as far as having the data for timely filing, where you needed to go, where you can access different forms, they all had that actually in there for us. And then for some of the stuff that's more unique to our particular area, or some of the minor companies that, not everybody uses, we had to put that data in ourselves, but they made it very easy for us to do. And they actually helped me get all of that data into a simple database.
Yeah, great. So talk a little bit more about the KPIs, the numbers in your practice, and what's happened since you got a chance to implement OneSpot.
The efficiency has gone way up.
And how do you measure that?
So part of that is the amount of claims and the amount of claims that really we're able to process a day, amount of follow-up we could do. As I mentioned before, my pending report had gotten out of control. So that's, all that money still sitting there on the table. We went from being about 30,000, under what we should have been for our numbers for Q1 to where we've been able to recoup over 50% of that total by being able to work the system, being able to have a quick access to go grab that form to do a reconsideration request, being able to have that data real quick for what you need to be able to do in order to file an appeal for timely filing. And, with my remote biller, I also can then see exactly what she's worked on and what she's doing, because every day when you upload that pending report, you can see these shifts to see, all right, we cleared off 50 claims, we gained 25 more, this is my total money still sitting in this pot by date. And it really helps you be able to understand how well your biller is actually working for you too, and how many dollars are still sitting out there for you to collect.
So it gives you visibility not just into your AR, but it also gives you visibility into the activities that the biller is doing on a regular basis.
Exactly, because if you have somebody who's working remotely, there's a level of trust there, and there's always this little, back thought nugget in your head, like, okay, I know she has small kids. Is she playing with her kids instead of working on AR and things like that? And you can see exactly what is happening on a day-to-day basis to be able to track, how they are doing.
So, what's your advice to practices considering OneSpot?
I say is very much worth the investment. It's a small amount of money per month, really, in the grand scheme of things. And if you're at a point where I was considering having to outsource or at least outsource a portion of that revenue cycle management, it is definitely much more cost effective, particularly if you have people who know what they're doing but feel overwhelmed to where that time savings of not having to have the 50 tabs flipping back and forth, or, let me open up this book and flip to this section and this subsection, it can really make it more effective. The other thing it's great is that communication-wise. So if my biller's working on something and she needs to have the doctor review a code, or she's like, I'm not sure, Cass, about how to handle this situation, she can send me a task list to, directly linked to that claim, and then I can respond back to her directly linked to that claim. And so all the data that I need to look at, whether it's the EOB, the appeal that she done, whatever, all that's just in one place, to where I don't have to spend 20 minutes looking at 5 different pieces of data to be able to make a quick response back to her.
So, Cindy, back to you, thinking about the future of billing, and thank you, by the way, very much, Cassandra, thinking about the future of billing and really thinking about this particular innovation, because this probably is one of the very few back office support systems that I've ever seen. When we're thinking about user experience, we're oftentimes thinking about the front end, right? What's the EHR doing? What's the patient experience? And oftentimes we're not really thinking so much about how do we really make a huge impact on the back office. So in your words, I guess, is this where do you see OneSpot evolving? Where do you see the billing industry evolving? And really, I guess if somebody's interested, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so I've been doing software in optometry and just in the medical space for a long time, which I love doing, obviously. I've also been fortunate enough to always be involved with launches and startups. It has been so fun for me to work with the billers because they're so appreciative. They work so hard, and they really haven't had anybody say, listen, we all love the doctors. We love being able to support them. I actually work for an EMR company, and we took great feedback and stuff. It is really fun to see the response that the billers are having to this and how appreciative they are, because they're working really hard. They say, I lose sleep. I think about this claim and I lose sleep that I can't get paid on that. So that feels really good. We are adding different modules. Like we have the AR manager, which has all that administrative stuff, and then the ability to work those claims and chase the outstanding balance. And then we have the scrubber, which is an add-on module. We have plans for additional modules, all being fed from our 100+ billers that are like, we need this. This is what we need. And then you could just reach, it's onespotbilling.com is our website. And then you can directly message me there.
Well, thank you both very much for joining us on the Power Hour today on the Innovators Series. And, we're really excited to showcase this. So we'll go ahead and post some of the links to OneSpot in the show notes. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, Kassim.
Our final conversation this Innovators episode is with industry legend Jim McGrann, who recently took the reins as CEO of Advancing Eyecare, which is North America's largest provider of ophthalmic instruments. We talked a little bit about the different brands of products and the AI innovations being built into these products, and also how MARCOLOMBART came to be this year as an innovation in itself. Listen in. All right, welcome to our Vegas Innovators episode, and with me is Jim McGrann. Jim, you are newly, and I guess maybe not so newly, 12 months, you're at the head of Advancing Eyecare, and Advancing Eyecare is doing something really innovative in different, several different channels. And I wanted to just quickly zoom in and say, what's the innovation? What's different? What can practices benefit from?
Sure. Great to be here, Eugene. Thank you. And thanks for doing this. I mean, I think there's so much innovation going on in the industry, and it's great to have a series focused on looking at that. I think for us from Advancing Eye Care, we always talk about Advancing Eye Care. Our name is our mission, right? So we are here and we're in the industry to help continue to support it and help advance eye care and mostly focused on the area of ophthalmic equipment and technology. So what the innovation really around Advancing Eye Care is that what we've done is we've brought together some of the best players in the ophthalmic equipment space. And what we've been able to do is in one-stop shopping kind of approach, you're able to, depending on your practice and how you're building your practice, we have offerings, and we always talk about we have a good, better, best model.
Sure.
So depending on, where you want to be, certain practices that may just want to be in a churn and burn mode, and they're not as focused on the higher end stuff. We have that available to them, all the way up to our, MARCOLOMBART equipment, which we'll talk about and can, meet all their needs from a high tech perspective. But the key for us is really being that one-stop shop. So from equipment, helping design the proper equipment for your office, then follow that with installation, preventive maintenance, break fix maintenance, all within the Advancing Eye Care umbrella. So if you're a partner of ours and we're working with you, we can help you through the whole process. And most importantly, I think what I've been in the role for a year. The way I'd love for the industry and our customers to think of us is as their technology integration partner, and thinking of us that way beyond just, we can buy our equipment from them and they can install it for me. It's more, we can help you design the right equipment or layout of your equipment for your office, help you integrate it, not just the equipment itself, but with your practice management, with your electronic medical records, with any technology that you have in your office, and really support you in that effort. So the innovation of the company itself is that, the name's cool, right? Advancing Eye Care, our mission is our name. And you're able to really work with one player, and we can bring all of this to you in a one-stop shop model.
A single trusted partner.
Yes.
For really any equipment needs inside of a practice. Now, I guess one of the things that probably would be helpful for folks who don't know all the Advancing Eye Care components.
Sure.
Maybe just run down the list, and then also which ones do you want to zoom in on?
Yeah. So why don't I do it, since I brought about the good, better, best type of model.
Yeah.
So one of our divisions, EMS, based in St. Louis, they are the leader in pre-owned, refurbished equipment. So there's a lot of equipment out there still, very, very viable life. That doctors who just are staying on the leading edge, they may be moving a little bit faster. We take that equipment back, it gets refurbished, and it's available. So I'd put EMS and the pre-owned in our good category.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's got a warranty. Get it rolled out if that's where you want to be. In the better category, we have two divisions, Veach and Efficient. Efficient was just recently acquired. We closed on Efficient on August 1st. Yep. And what Efficient has done is it's brought some products, and it's brought an OEM partner, an original equipment manufacturer partner that we weren't working with before. And they've really helped us solidify the value part of our offering in that better space. So again, real solid equipment that can, support any practice that's out there. And again, it's really more about what the practice is looking for and where they're at. Then in the best category, we just recently, July 1st, we've merged our two largest divisions. Marco Healthcare and Lombard Healthcare have become MARCOLOMBART.
So why did you guys do that?
Yeah, I'll go through it. I was just going to joke, since you're the marketing guy, I was going to say it took so long to figure out, how do we name this thing, but no.
Which one goes first?
Yeah, which
like rock, paper, scissors, or like...
But, we didn't want to lose the industry, and the industry knows Marco and Lombard. Yep. So the reason we did it was we started to see that, back before we merged them, I'd say, Lombard was probably, on the fence between the better and best. So they had best offerings and better offerings. I'll keep using that vernacular. And we were running into a situation where, even though these companies were all part of Advancing Eye Care, at times the doctors were saying, well, I have a Marco rep in here. I have a Lombard rep in here. You know, aren't they all the same company? And we were creating competition within our own ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So when we looked at that, we said, no, look, if we bring this group together, we can, one, double the size of our sales force that's focused on the Marco offerings, which is our best, our high-end, high-tech equipment, and really be able to penetrate much more deeply into those markets, as opposed to having half still just selling the Marco products and the other half selling the Lombard offerings. So we just implemented it July 1, and it's been going very well. Definitely seeing a lot more penetration, a lot more proposals around the Marco equipment, and so we're really happy, and we've been getting good feedback from the accounts because it's simplified. You know, now they have a single point of contact,
right.
Single rep that they're dealing with that has everything that Marco and Lombard has to offer available to them.
So we're at Expo. What are you guys exhibiting that is that you're most proud of or that you're most excited about?
Sure. So just if I could just finish the one other.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
No, that was okay. Is one that's it's not really, it's part of the family, but it's really focused in a different area of the business, is Santinelli. And Santinelli is really focused on the in-office finishing products, edging, frame tracing, all of those products and there's a lot of practices that really love to leverage that because it gives them that ability to deliver quicker to their patients.
It's a competitive advantage. Very
much a competitive advantage. So Santinelli is, a standalone division, but it's a very important part of our offering to the market. So I'm sorry,
No, that's great. I'm glad you pulled that in. So, I guess going back, if you think about all of the stuff that you guys are exhibiting, we are sitting in the MARCOLOMBART booth.
Yes.
So what are you guys most proud of that's on the floor, and what do you think, and what do you think is most innovative here?
Yeah. So when you're looking at the industry now, and I know that you spend a lot of time with practices and helping practices grow and get bigger. One of the key areas that a lot of practices are doing now is getting specialized in areas like dry eye, myopia management.
Of course.
So we have a product that's here at Expo. That's the AL scan, an axial length scan that is ideal for practices that are focused on myopia management.
Okay.
It provides the ability to set a baseline. So say it's especially from a child perspective. You have a child come in. You want to make sure that the myopia doesn't get out of control over the years. They get scanned with this device, and then on that annual basis, or if it's someone that needs to have more focus, you can do it more than once a year.
Mm-hmm.
But it sets that baseline and looks at the trend and allows the doctor to figure out the best care path. So we're very excited to have launched the AL scan, and it's been here, and it's here at the show.
And the demand from patients definitely supports this product, because we're seeing from our data sets that demand for myopia, at least 24 to 23, is up something like 18 to 20%.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because it creates this opportunity for patients or for practices to serve additional demand. And the way that if you have technology that allows you to do that easier, faster, and better, that's great.
Yep. And then I'd say the other thing that, everybody, I was talking to someone earlier, a regional retailer, and he was joking about that, real estate, like a corporate real estate or real estate for their practices, the cost is going up. And he said it defies logic, right? It seems like it should be going down, but it's not. And they're continuing to look. And he said it was especially in malls. He mentioned that that malls are getting more and more expensive. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said we have to look at we have to look at how can we most effectively manage our space now, because we may not be able to have a big sprawling practice. So we also have one of our Epic system provides all of the tools necessary for auto refraction and everything you need to run an effective lane, and it's in like a 5 foot by 6 foot area. So for a practice that's space constrained or that's just trying to manage their space better, this Epic system is awesome. So we're excited to be showing that here at Vision Expo, and excited. We're trying to meet the needs, so we're listening to what the customers are saying, and
Yep.
better space management, more effective use of space, and then just products that help support the specialties like dry eye and myopia management.
Let me ask you one more question.
Sure.
The reality is that we hear a lot about AI in today's environment,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of different applications of AI that I talk about with my clients, and we talk about in various. I'm on an AI panel, in front of a large audience in a few months. The truth is that it seems like it's penetrating every part of the market. What are you guys doing about AI?
Sure. Yeah. A couple of things that we're working with our, OEMs. I keep saying OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, our partners that build the technology, and working with them to make sure they're understanding what we're hearing from the clients, the practices of how they want to leverage and use AI, and how can that be built into those product offerings. And then another step back is we're also taking all of the knowledge that we've developed as a business over the last 60 years between our people that know our thousands of products inside and out, and all of the data and manuals that we have, and really bringing that into an AI system and a tool, a customer portal, where our customers will be able to, from a self-service perspective, answer quick questions about the technology. And, we were joking earlier, you and I said, a lot of times the first question when someone calls and says their equipment's broken, you always say, is it plugged in?
Well, yeah, we had an audio issue, and it's like, did we plug in the cord? We did. Once we did, everything started working.
Exactly. But we want to try to, again, use AI to make it simpler for the customers to get support from us. Now, I've been to 2 AI conferences, one last week, one this week here at Vision Expo. And for me, my favorite quote was the one that opened last week's session that said, AI is not going to replace humans, but humans with AI are going to replace humans without AI. And I think that also bridges to our industry. So AI is not going to replace doctors. We still need doctors to assess the situation and really hands-on work with their patient. But it's not going to replace doctors, but doctors with AI and AI tools are definitely going to replace doctors without. So I think all of us, it's beholden on all of us in the industry to stay focused on what's happening, figuring out how to best leverage the tools that we can bring to both our customers and to the to the doctors, to the practices. And the other thing I learned in these 2 seminars was the real importance of understanding your data and understanding the quality of the data that you're feeding into your AI system. And I saw one speaker talk about the implementation of the tools is about 20% of the work. 80% of the work comes from understanding the data and respecting the data and knowing that you have to make the right decisions around that data.
So you think in future expos, Jim, we're going to see more AI-based demonstrations from your team and being able to see how AI is supporting practices?
Absolutely. No question about it. And I think those things, so between the tools we're building internally just to help better support our customers, but then showing how our partners, our OEM partners, are developing AI tools that sit on top of the equipment that they're rolling out. Absolutely. I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of that.
Fantastic. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for participating in our Innovator Series. And also, just thank you for all the stuff that your organizations are doing to support the eye care industry. In all reality, what you were saying is listening to your customers, listening to the industry, and then creating things that really support where the industry is going or where the patient demand is at. That's really what innovation is all about.
Great. Thank you so much, Eugene. And honestly, thank you for a forum like this and doing this. It drives the conversation. And I appreciate the work you and the Power Practice team are doing to keep the conversation going. It's really, really important.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hey there, it's Eugene, and I've got a question for you. Do you do medical billing in your practice? What if we took 10 charts and looked at them pretty closely? Would they be good enough to pass an audit? Or would you owe the insurance company some money? Or would there be some found revenue that you could put back in your pocket? So looking at 10 charts is a new service that's now available from the Power Practice, and it's called the Power Audit. What happens during the Power Audit is that some of the most knowledgeable billing experts in the country are going to do a friendly audit on your charts and see if they can find opportunities. By the way, in auditing hundreds of charts, 9 out of 10 charts they look at, they find something. And typically that something fits into 2 categories. One,
something that better protects your practice, or 2, something that can make you more money. In fact, almost every single audit they do uncovers underbilling areas where you can get paid more for what you already did. So let's just play it out. You send them your medical charts, and a few weeks later, they provide you with a detailed report, an analysis, a write-up, a coaching guide that helps you prevent any issues in the future, and again, helps you get paid more for what you're already doing while protecting your practice. So if you're doing any amount of medical billing in your practice, this is a service that's well worth the $2,500 it costs. And as a limited time opportunity, 10 listeners from this episode can get a $700 savings certificate for the Power Audit. So the price is only $17.99, but the opportunities that the Power Audit uncovers are worth many, many, many multiples of that. So go to the Power Practice website. Up near the top, you can click Request a Power Audit. Now, you're not committing to pay anyone at that point. You're just locking in your $700 savings. But you will get a chance to schedule a 10-minute phone call to get your questions answered and to see if the Power Audit is a fit for your practice. Again, that's the Power Audit on thepowerpractice.com.